3 doctors examined him. 3 doctors signed the death certificate. They zipped him inside a body bag and wheeled him to the morgue. And just before the autopsy blade touched his skin, someone heard breathing coming from inside the bag. Gonzalo Montoya Jimenez was not dead. He never was. And the most terrifying part of this story isn't what happened to him. It's how close they came to finding out too late. The Asturias prison in northern Spain is not the kind of place that makes the news. It's a maximum security facility in the north of the country. Cold corridors, steel doors, the kind of silence that swallows sound whole. Gonzalo was an inmate there, serving his sentence, living the invisible life of a man the world had already forgotten. One morning in 2018, a guard found him in his cell. He wasn't moving. He wasn't breathing. His body was cold and still. The guard called the prison medical team. The first doctor examined him and declared him dead. A second was brought in. Same conclusion. A third, same verdict. 3 separate physicians, 3 death declarations, 0 doubt. The paperwork began. A body bag was retrieved. Gonzalo was zipped inside. He was to be transferred to the Hospital Universitario Central de Asturias for a routine autopsy, the standard procedure for any unexpected death in custody. Routine. Everything was moving forward with the calm efficiency of a system that believed it knew exactly what it was dealing with. A dead man. Nothing more. The bag arrived at the morgue. Workers received it the way they received every transfer. Methodically, without urgency. They placed it on the table. They began preparing instruments. And then one of them stopped because they heard something coming from inside the bag. Think about what that moment feels like. You are in a morgue. It is quiet, clinical. The air smells of antiseptic and cold metal. And the thing on the table in front of you, the thing that 3 doctors have officially declared a corpse, is making a sound. They unzipped the bag. Gonzalo Montoya Jimenez looked up at them, alive, breathing, his body trembling with the first full breaths it had drawn in hours. He was rushed into emergency care immediately. Doctors fought to stabilize him, and he survived. He survived a death that was never his. Now here is where this story stops being shocking and starts being something far worse. Because the explanation is real, it is documented, and it means this can happen again. The leading medical theory in Gonzalo's case was a condition called catalepsy, not a myth, not a relic from Victorian horror novels, a genuine neurological state in which the body's muscles lock rigid, breathing slows to nearly nothing, and the pulse drops so low it becomes almost impossible to detect without specialized equipment. A person in deep catalepsy can be cold to the touch. Their eyes can be fixed and glassy. Their chest barely moves. To anyone examining them without an ECG or a pulse oximeter, and in some prison medical settings, that equipment is not always immediately available, they look exactly like a corpse. 3 experienced doctors examined Gonzalo. 3 experienced doctors were wrong. And catalepsy is not even the only explanation. Certain cardiac events, extreme metabolic crashes, drug interactions. There's a whole category in medicine called apparent death. A state so complete, so convincing in every external detail that has fooled trained professionals across continents and centuries. In the 1700s and 1800s, the fear of being buried alive was so widespread that inventors designed coffins with bells attached to strings inside, so that anyone who woke underground could ring for help. They were not being irrational. They had seen it happen. It happened then. And in 2018, in a Spanish prison with modern medicine and 3 doctors present, it happened again. The question that should keep you awake is not, how did they miss it? The question is, how many times has this happened and no one heard the sound in time? Gonzalo recovered. He was stabilized, treated, and eventually returned to the prison system. Spanish authorities opened an investigation into the incident. The doctors were reviewed. But this story does not end with a villain or a clean resolution, because what this case reveals is not incompetence. It is the terrifying fragility of certainty itself. We trust systems. We trust credentials. We trust the word of 3 doctors standing in a room, each of them trained, each of them experienced, each of them looking at the same body and reaching the same conclusion. And sometimes, in the quiet, clinical, fluorescent lit space where we are most certain, we are catastrophically wrong. Gonzalo was lucky. He was heard. The bag was unzipped in time. The autopsy had not yet begun, but he spent hours inside that bag, alone, in the dark, with no way to know if anyone was coming. What he experienced in there, we don't know. He has never described it fully. Maybe he was unconscious the whole time. Maybe he wasn't. And that silence, that gap between what we know and what he knows, is the most disturbing part of this entire story. Because somewhere in the history of medicine, in old hospital records and forgotten case files, there are other names, other bags, other rooms where someone should have listened more carefully and didn't. And those people did not have anyone to hear them. If you want to know about them, stay with us.